I remember the night like it was breathing around me, soft and slow. The fog had rolled in, thick and clinging, curling around the bare trees like fingers. My little apartment on the edge of town felt distant from everything, yet every creak and whisper of the wind reminded me that I wasn't alone. Outside, the street lamps flickered, struggling to hold back the darkness. I sipped cold tea and listened to the hum of the radiator, each groan echoing like a voice I almost recognized. Somewhere beyond the fog, a shadow moved, fluid, silent, impossible to place. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was just the streetlight or the fog playing tricks. But then the light flickered again, slower this time, and I saw it, pale, leaning, watching. That's when I felt it, the cold crawl along my spine, and I knew the night had just begun. I never should have opened the door. It was late, maybe past midnight, the kind of quiet that hums behind your ears. Outside my window, the forest looked still, black trees pressed together under a pale sky. And then, the fog came. It rolled in slow. Thick, white, moving like breath across the ground. I remember how it clung to the bark, how it curled between the branches, as if searching for something. The air changed first. Cold, damp, each inhale felt heavier than the last. I could taste the earth in it. Wet leaves, old pine, something sweet. Like rot. I stood by the window, hand resting on the glass. The fog was alive out there. It pulsed, like it was breathing with me. And then, I heard it. A whisper. So faint I almost thought it was inside my head. It slipped through the air, soft, stretched, like a sigh. My name, at first I didn't move. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe the fog carried echoes from the road. But it came again, closer this time. My name, drawn out, trembling at the edge of the trees. Something in me went still. The glass fogged under my breath. I tried to look deeper into the trees, but the white haze swallowed everything. Only faint outlines remained. Branches bending, a flicker of movement that wasn't wind. The whisper turned into a murmur. More voices, layered, muffled, like a conversation happening underwater. I pressed my ear against the cold pane. They seemed to be calling to me. Not loud, not urgent, just patient, somewhere between comfort and warning. The fog thickened, creeping higher, until it reached the bottom of the window frame. I couldn't see the ground anymore. Just pale gray, rippling like static. Then, a shadow. It moved slow through the mist, tall, thin, each step careful, as if it didn't want to be heard. I leaned closer. My breath stopped. It had no face, only the faint suggestion of where one should be, a smooth surface where eyes and a mouth should have been. Yet I felt it watching me. Every part of me knew it was. The whispers grew louder, spinning through the fog like wind through reeds. Not words now, just shapes of sound, half-thoughts brushing against my skin. I took a step back. The floor creaked beneath me. The figure froze. The whispers stopped. The fog seemed to hold its breath. I waited. Seconds, maybe minutes. The silence was so heavy it pressed against my chest. Then, slowly, the shadow tilted its head, not toward the trees, toward me. My heart stuttered. For a moment, I thought it would move closer. But instead, the fog began to fade. The whiteness thinned, pulled apart by the cold wind. Tree trunks returned to shape. The earth reappeared beneath them. The figure dissolved. First the body, then the head, then nothing at all. Only the empty forest, drenched in pale light. The whispers drained away with it, like water down a sink. I stood there long after it was gone, hand still against the glass, feeling the chill seeping through. The forest was quiet again. Too quiet. Even the crickets had stopped. No wind, no rustle. Just that soft hum of silence, as if the world had turned off its breath. I went to close the curtains, but something caught my eye. A faint print. A smudge of moisture on the outside of the glass. It looked like fingertips. 5 of them. Pressed gently right where mine had been. I didn't move. Couldn't. The fog was gone. The trees were still. But when I leaned close, I thought I heard it again, so faint, I almost missed it. A whisper, right against the glass. My name. then silence. It was late again. The kind of hour that feels hollow, when the air sits too still and the dark presses in from every corner. The room was quiet. Only the hum of the old radio filled it, a faint, trembling buzz that wavered between silence and static. I kept it on every night. Not for music, just for company. The station was long dead. All that came through was static, crackling like dry leaves beneath a slow step. Sometimes, if I listened closely, it felt like there was something beneath the noise, something trying to speak. Tonight, it was louder, sharper, each burst of static cutting through the quiet like breath through glass. I sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped in the faint glow of the radio light, pale yellow against the dark walls. The rest of the room felt far away, the corners lost, the ceiling heavy. The static dipped, then rose again. And between it, a sound, almost a word. A soft, broken whisper buried under the hum. I leaned closer. The air smelled like dust and metal, like something that hadn't moved in years. For a moment, I thought I heard it say, "Don't." The word vanished as quick as it came. The static swallowed it whole, leaving only the soft pulse of white noise. I tried to breathe evenly, but the air felt thin, like the room itself was breathing back. The curtains by the window shifted. Not much, just enough to make the faint moonlight tremble. There was no wind. The window was shut. I stared at the fabric, watched the way the shadows behind it seemed to move. Slowly, rhythmically, almost like someone was standing there, breathing with me. The static wavered again. Another flicker. A whisper that scraped through the distortion. "Behind." I froze. The word was clearer this time. Too clear to ignore. I told myself it was a trick of the signal. Old wiring, interference. But the curtain kept swaying. And the shadows behind it didn't. The air thickened. My chest felt tight, every breath dragging through something unseen. The radio hummed lower, almost like it was sinking beneath the weight of the room. Then, a pulse. A faint crack. Static broke apart, shattered into bursts that rose and fell, and in the middle of it, something like a voice. Not one I recognized. Not human. Too deep. Too calm. Stop listening. It wasn't a warning. It was a command. I reached for the dial, but my hand hesitated halfway. The metal felt cold. Wet. When I looked down, the knob was slick with condensation, like it had been pulled from ice water. I wiped my hand on the blanket. The radio hissed louder. The shadows moved again. Not behind the curtain this time. Closer. Stretching across the floor, bending toward my feet. The hum trembled, a low tone running beneath the static, steady as a heartbeat. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the radio light. It flickered once, then again. For a moment, the static cleared completely. Silence. Perfect, ringing silence. And in that space, a whisper that didn't come from the speaker. It came from the room. Right behind me, my name. I didn't turn. Couldn't. The silence stretched thin. The curtain stopped moving. The air held its breath, then the static returned, louder, sharper, desperate. Like it was trying to fill the space before something else did, I twisted the dial off. The noise died instantly, but the hum didn't. It stayed, faint but real. A low vibration crawling through the floorboards, through my spine. The air smelled different now. Ozone, dust, something faintly burnt. I sat there until the first gray of morning crept through the window. The radio stayed dark, still, silent. But when I passed it on my way out, I heard it again. A whisper buried deep inside the dead static. My name. Followed by a single word, stay. And then, nothing. It's past midnight. The building is quiet again. That kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's waiting for something. I can hear the hum of the hallway light through the wall. That soft, tired buzz it makes before it flickers. It's been doing that for weeks. Flicker, pause, flicker again. Like a heartbeat that isn't mine. I tell myself I'll call maintenance tomorrow, but I never do. The air feels colder tonight, the kind that creeps in slow, through cracks you can't see. I open my door just a little, just enough to look down the hall. The light at the far end blinks once, twice, then steadies into a dull, pale glow. The hallway stretches longer than I remember. Walls too narrow, shadows clinging to the corners like wet cloth. I can smell dust, old paint, something faintly metallic. The flicker comes again. Longer this time, each blink stretching out the dark between flashes. When the light fades, I can feel it. The dark moves, not loud, not fast. Just there, shifting like it's breathing in rhythm with me. I take a step forward. The floor beneath me groans, wood sinking under my weight. The light hums louder, flickers again, and in that half-second of brightness, I think I see something. A shape. At the far end, still but not solid, like the air itself had learned to stand upright. The light dies again. The hall is swallowed whole. For a breath, I can't tell if my eyes are open or closed. When the light blinks back on, the shape is gone. The hum deepens, a low vibration crawling through the walls. The shadows stretch longer, reaching toward my feet. I whisper, barely. "Hello?" My voice doesn't carry. It just folds into the static hum. The door at the end of the hall, the one that leads to the stairwell, shifts. A slow creak. Metal hinges dragging against wood. I stare at it. It's locked. I know it's locked. I checked it hours ago, but the door moves again. A fraction wider, just enough to show the darkness behind it. The air changes. Heavier now. Like the hallway is breathing deeper, drawing me in with it. The light flickers harder, each pulse slicing the darkness into broken frames. For a second I see it, something standing just past the doorway. It's not close, but not far either. Tall. Still. Too still. The next blink of light erases it. I can't move. I don't even try. It feels like the air has thickened, holding me in place. I count the seconds between flickers. 1, 2, 3. The light snaps back on. The door is wide open now. Cold air spills through it, sharp enough to sting my throat. The shape is gone. But the dark beyond that open door, it feels aware, like it's looking back at me. I hear something faint. Rustling. A soft scrape against the floor. Then quiet. The light steadies, but dimmer now, as if it's tired from all the flickering. The hallway looks normal again. Empty. Still, only the door remains open. The silence presses close, thick and careful. I step backward, slow, until my shoulder brushes my own doorframe. The hum fades. The flicker stops. Everything holds its breath. Then, from down the hall, the door creaks shut on its own. The latch clicks. I stand there, hand on the knob, feeling the faint vibration through the metal. The light stays steady now. Too steady, unnaturally still. I close my door softly. The hum seeps through the walls again, low and constant, like something whispering beneath the wires. I lie awake for a long time after that, listening, waiting for the next flicker, but it never comes. The forest was quiet tonight. Too quiet. Fog had settled low across the path, a soft, silver veil clinging to the ground. Each breath felt thick, cold enough to sting the back of my throat. The moon was somewhere above me. I could see its pale reflection sliding across the mist, but not its face. The trees stood close on either side, their trunks rising like dark pillars through the haze. I could smell the damp bark, the faint sweetness of moss, and something else. A faint rot, hidden beneath the cold. My footsteps were soft, muted by the wet earth. Even the crunch of leaves seemed swallowed, like the forest didn't want to be disturbed. I wasn't sure why I'd come this far. The path wasn't long, but it always felt endless at night. The air pressed in tighter the deeper I walked. Each step made the fog ripple, small waves spreading between the roots. That's when I saw them, 2 pale dots in the distance, small, still, unblinking. At first I thought they were reflections, dew catching the light. But they didn't move when the fog did. They stayed, watching. My chest tightened. I slowed. The air grew colder, like the forest was exhaling around me. The eyes blinked once, a quick, slow flicker, and then they were gone. Only fog again. Only the trees. I told myself it was nothing. Light tricking my eyes, tiredness, but my heartbeat didn't believe it. The silence deepened. Even the insects had gone still. I started walking faster, trying to keep my gaze forward. But the trees felt closer now, leaning in, their branches overlapping above, like ribs closing over a heart. Then from the corner of my vision, another pair, closer, lower to the ground, white eyes half hidden between the trunks. Too round, too steady. I stopped breathing. My ears rang with the sound of my own pulse, a faint hum beneath the fog. The eyes didn't move, but the shadows around them did. A faint shift, like something long and thin was shifting behind the bark. I took one step back. The earth beneath my heel gave a soft crack. The eyes vanished. The fog rippled again, curling inward, as if the forest had swallowed something whole. I wanted to turn back, but when I looked over my shoulder, the path behind me was gone. Nothing but gray, soft, endless gray. The air grew colder still, biting through my sleeves. My breath came out in short bursts, shallow, uneven. That's when I heard it. A breath, not mine, slow, drawn out. So close it brushed the back of my neck. I froze. Didn't dare move. The cold on my skin deepened, like a presence leaning just behind me. It inhaled again. Quick this time, sharp, and gone. I turned around, slowly, carefully. But there was nothing. Only fog, and the faint glimmer of something pale disappearing into it. The forest seemed to hold its breath now, every branch still, every leaf waiting. I could feel the weight of eyes all around me. Not two, dozens. Hidden between the trunks, flickering faintly through the mist, they weren't blinking anymore. They were watching. All at once, the fog began to move, not with the wind, but as if drawn by something deeper. It curled around my legs, cold and slow, pulling toward the trees. I stepped forward, but the path shifted beneath me, roots spreading like veins across the dirt. The pale eyes followed each movement, tracing me through the haze. One pair, then another, then more. Lining the path ahead, stretching into the distance. The forest was breathing again. Deep, uneven, the trees seemed to pulse with it. I could feel the rhythm beneath my feet, a faint vibration in the earth, and between each breath, a whisper, too soft to understand, too many voices to follow. I closed my eyes. The whispers stopped. When I opened them, the fog had begun to lift. The eyes were gone. The forest looked still again, but the cold remained, pressed against my spine. I walked the rest of the way in silence, not daring to look back. By the time I reached the clearing, the fog was thin, almost clear. The trees stood quiet behind me, their bark slick with dew. I could still feel that breath, that faint trace of warmth that wasn't mine. And in the far distance, between two trunks, a pair of pale eyes opened once more, just watching until I turned away. It's late again. The office feels different at night, too still, too awake. The hum starts after everyone leaves, faint at first, just the machines cooling down, their quiet vibrations seeping into the air. But after a while it grows, soft, steady, like a low voice under my breath. I tell myself it's nothing. Just power running through the walls, just circuits, still alive when the lights go out. The monitors glow faintly blue, casting thin shadows that stretch across the desks. Long, distorted. They move when I don't. I keep typing, pretending not to notice. The hum deepens, curling between the wires, finding rhythm in the silence. There's something inside it now, a pulse, almost like whispering. Every few seconds it dips lower, then rises like someone catching their breath. I glance toward the hallway. The exit light flickers once, a brief flash of red over the polished floor. The reflection of my shadow bends with it longer than it should be. The air feels charged. Not warm, not cold, just wrong. I lean back in my chair. Listen. The hum seems to shift, closer, like it's coming from under the floor. The printer beside me whirs suddenly. Paper slides halfway out, blank and untouched. I watch it for a long time. No one moves. No one breathes. The hum swells again, filling the room like a held note. It vibrates against my ribs, deep and steady. Somewhere behind me, a chair creaks. The kind of sound that shouldn't happen unless someone's sitting there. I turn. Nothing. Just rows of dark monitors, blinking with faint static light. The shadows stretch further now, touching the far wall, shifting slightly even when the air is still. I rub my eyes. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's the fluorescence. But then, the door at the end of the room begins to move. Slow. A small creak that matches the rhythm of the hum. Forward. Back. Forward again. I watch the handle. It doesn't turn. It just moves with the hum, as if the two are breathing together. The sound slides through the vents, soft and wet, a faint vibration that feels alive. My chest tightens. I can feel it under my skin now, that low vibration, like something beneath the surface of the walls is trying to come through. The door creaks again, longer this time. The shadows around it twist, stretching up the wall in uneven lines. I whisper without meaning to. Stop. The hum answers me. It dips just slightly. Like it heard, then it grows louder. The monitors flicker. Blue light flashes across the ceiling. The shadows scatter, and then pull back together, forming something darker, thicker, standing just between the door and me. The hum sharpens to a thin, trembling tone. The floor vibrates beneath my shoes. I grip the edge of my desk. The metal feels colder than it should. The shape doesn't move, but I can see where its edges shouldn't be. The way the light bends around it. The door creaks wider. The hum stops. Silence. The kind that feels alive. Every wire in the room seems to hold its breath. The monitors freeze, their glow flat and motionless. I wait, listening, counting the seconds between heartbeats. Then, the hum returns, soft, right behind me. I turn slowly. The air moves with me, a faint warmth brushing the back of my neck, like breath. No one's there. The computer screen beside me flickers. For a moment, letters spill across the display. Nonsense, broken code, lines that twist and vanish before I can read them. Then the light steadies. The hum fades. The room goes still again. I exhale, slowly, my pulse still catching in the quiet. The door at the end of the room is closed now. Perfectly shut, but the hum, it's still there, just beneath the silence, hiding in the wires, breathing with the walls. And when I listen closely, it almost sounds like it's learning to speak. The night feels heavier than usual. Air thick with rain that never fell. The glass of my window is fogged, soft breath marks spreading across the pane like veins. I don't remember breathing that close to it. Outside, the street is empty. No cars, no footsteps. Just a low hum in the distance. Maybe the wires overhead, maybe the quiet itself. The clock ticks, slow and uneven. I try not to listen to it, but every second sounds louder than the last. I glance toward the window again. That's when I see it. A shape. Standing still, behind the glass, cut out of the fog like a shadow with weight, too tall to be a reflection. Too still to be anything alive. It doesn't move, doesn't tilt its head, doesn't breathe. Just stands there, a dark outline pressed against the pale mist outside. My pulse slips out of rhythm. I blink once, hoping it's a trick of light, but it's still there, a figure, perfectly still. The fog presses tighter against the glass like it's being drawn toward that shape, like the air itself is afraid to move. For a long time, I can't. I just stare. The window begins to hum faintly, low, vibrating beneath the glass. My breath fogs the pane again, and for a moment, I can't see it anymore. When I wipe the glass clear, the figure is gone. The space it filled looks wrong now, empty but not peaceful, like the air there still remembers it. I wait, listening for something. Footsteps, a door, anything. Nothing. The silence feels alive. It presses against the walls, thick and watchful. I take a step back, heart beating too close to my throat. The curtain moves slightly. Not from wind. The window is closed, it sways once, then stills. My skin prickles. That quiet hum hasn't stopped. I can feel it now through the floorboards, a faint vibration running beneath me. I glance at the window again. The fogs come back thicker, bleeding into the room around the frame. Something shifts behind it. A faint outline. The same shape, closer this time. I blink again. The glass clears just enough to see it. The silhouette leans forward, its edge almost touching the window pane. My breath catches. I can't tell if it's looking in or if it already is. The hum deepens. A slow pulse that climbs into my ears. I whisper, "Who's there?" The words dissolve into the air. No echo. No reply. The fog spreads wider, seeping down the wall, pale and cold against the floor. When I step closer, the glass begins to tremble. Just slightly, like something breathing on the other side. The shape doesn't move, doesn't fade, just waits, then slowly, it starts to tilt, the top of its head leaning to one side as though curious, as though it can see me clearly, even through the fog. I step back again. My heel hits the leg of a chair. The small sound breaks the stillness, and just like that, the silhouette vanishes. The window is empty. Completely clear now. Outside, the street looks normal again. The hum stops. The air goes still, but I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. The glass still feels warm where it shouldn't. The room smells faintly like metal and rain. I close the curtain, slowly, trying not to make a sound. The quiet returns, almost peaceful. I sit back down. Try to steady my hands, but the air behind me feels heavier now, thicker. Like the space I'm in has changed shape, just slightly. I tell myself it's fine. It's over. It's gone. Then, somewhere behind the curtain, the faintest sound, a soft tap, like a single fingertip against glass. Once. Then silence. I don't look. I don't move. The room holds its breath with me. The fog creeps back, slow and steady from the edges of the curtain, and even though the window is closed, I swear I can feel it, something watching. Just on the other side. The apartment feels different tonight, colder, still, the kind of cold that doesn't come from open windows or broken vents, but something that lingers, something that breathes. It's late, past midnight, I think. The lights hum faintly, pale yellow against the walls. I keep the hallway light on these days. It's the only one that doesn't flicker. But the air, it moves. A slow draft curls through the corridor, sliding against my ankles, whispering over the floorboards like it's alive. I tell myself it's nothing. Old buildings breathe too. They shift and sigh, still. The cold has weight. I can feel it behind me. Not a breeze. Not air. A breath. Drawn in. Released. Close enough that it stirs the fine hairs at the back of my neck. I turn. No one's there. Just the long stretch of hallway, shadows pooled along the walls like spilled ink. The draft moves again. Colder this time. Almost damp. I swallow. The sound too loud in the silence. Each step I take down the hall feels wrong. Like the air thickens around me. Like something unseen leans closer with every move. The shadows don't stay still. They reach, stretching long and thin across the floor, clinging to my feet as I pass. It feels like walking through deep water, each motion heavy. Slowed. I stop halfway. Listen. There's a sound. Soft. Steady. A breath that isn't mine. Close enough that I can almost feel it brushing against my ear. Cold, moist, patient. My heart stumbles, then races. I turn again, slowly this time. The hallway is empty, only the pale light trembling along the walls, only my reflection faint in a framed picture's glass. But my reflection, it doesn't move when I do. I blink hard. Step closer, it's normal again. Perfectly still. The air behind me tightens. That cold breath returns, so near now I can taste the chill. I whisper into the quiet. Who's there? The words fall flat. They don't echo. Something in the dark breathes back. Low, uneven, almost human. I back away, but the cold follows, pressing closer, curling around my shoulders like invisible hands. The shadows lengthen as the light hums louder, stretching toward the ceiling, bending at strange angles that don't match the furniture. They move when I don't. I step into the living room, trying to escape the draft. The temperature doesn't change. If anything, it gets colder. The windows are shut tight, frost clinging to the glass like veins. I stare at my breath clouding the air, white against the dark. There shouldn't be breath in here. Not when the heater's on. Not when I'm alone. The shadows in the corners ripple softly, like something inside them just exhaled. The hum in the walls stops. For a second, there's nothing. Then, a single breath right behind me, slow, deliberate, too close. My body freezes, every muscle held by fear. The air smells faintly of metal, old dust, and something else. Like the space behind the breath has been empty for a very long time. I can't move. I can't even turn. The breath moves again. This time across my neck, colder than before, lingering too long to be imagined. I close my eyes. Wait for something to touch me. But nothing does. The silence stretches thin, trembling. When I finally find the courage to turn, there's no one behind me. No shape, no shadow, just the faint shimmer of air, like heat distortion in the middle of winter. It drifts backward down the hall, soft and slow, disappearing into the dark. The temperature rises, but the stillness remains, deep, listening. I stand there for a long time, watching the pale light hum against the floor, trying to convince myself it's over. Then, something brushes the back of my hand, cold, gentle. A breath. That wasn't mine. The hum starts again, quiet, rhythmic. The shadows pull back to where they belong. I stay frozen in place, eyes on the dark hallway, waiting for the next breath, but none comes. Only silence, and yet, as I exhale, I swear I hear another one softly breathing in, right behind me. It's late again. The house is quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that hums behind your ears. The kind that makes you afraid to breathe too loudly. The hallway light is on, dim, pale. It barely reaches the top of the staircase. Below, only dark. The air feels heavier near the stairs. Colder, too, like something is waiting in the space between each step. I should go back to my room, but I don't, because I hear it. Soft footsteps, rising from the darkness below. Slow, measured, almost careful. They echo faintly against the walls, each one perfectly spaced. Like whoever, or whatever, is walking knows exactly where to step. The sound grows louder, closer. I lean over the railing. The air moves differently down there, thicker, almost humming. Then, I see it, a shape, a shadow, stretched long against the lower wall. It moves when the footsteps do. At first it looks human, but as it climbs, it stays wrong. Too tall, edges too thin, the kind of silhouette that shouldn't hold together in the light. The light trembles. I take one step forward. The wooden floor shifts under my heel, and the sound echoes down. Sharp against the stairwell, the shadow stops. So do the footsteps. Silence folds in, thick, pressing, like the air itself is holding its breath. I don't move. I barely blink. The figure stands there halfway up, head tilted up toward me, but there's no face. Just a darker patch within the dark. My chest tightens. I can feel my heartbeat in my throat. A slow, hard pulse that fills the space between us. For a moment, I think it's waiting for me to say something, but I don't. I can't. Then, the light flickers. Just once, enough for the walls to stretch and the air to shift. When it steadies again, the shadow is gone. Only the staircase remains, quiet and still. I step closer to the railing. Peer down, nothing. The lower floor is swallowed in darkness, but the feeling lingers, like something unseen is still standing there, watching, just out of sight. I listen again. No footsteps, no breath. Only that faint hum of electricity in the ceiling light. But then, another sound. Not from below this time. From behind me, a soft creak. Wood bending, as if someone has just stepped onto the landing. I turn slowly. The hallway is empty. The air moves again. A faint brush across my shoulder, cold, steady. Every instinct tells me to leave, to run. But the silence holds me. It's heavy, suffocating. I take a step back toward the stairs just to look again. The shadow returns, not moving this time. Not walking, just standing at the bottom step, still and patient, arms hanging too low, head tilted at the same impossible angle. The light above me buzzes softly, and for a heartbeat, the shadow flickers. Stretching up the wall, reaching, I blink, and it's gone again. The silence after is unbearable. It hums through my teeth into my bones. I whisper, without meaning to. Who's there? The question dies halfway down the stairs, and somewhere deep in the dark, the floor creaks once more. A single, slow step. Then nothing. The silence swells again. Complete. Absolute. I back away from the railing, one careful step at a time. The light above me steadies and the hum fades. By the time I reach my door, the air feels warmer, normal, but the moment I close it behind me, I hear it, a soft echo from the stairwell below. Footsteps. Not climbing this time. Descending, slowly, until they fade into nothing. And yet, as I lie in bed listening to the quiet return, I can still feel that gaze from the dark, waiting. Just beyond the first step, it's past midnight, the kind of hour where even the clocks sound tired. The room is still, wrapped in pale shadows from the streetlight outside. I can hear the hum of the radiator, the faint buzz of electricity in the walls. It's a sound I've always known, comforting, predictable, until tonight. Something else moves beneath it, a faint rustling, soft, uneven, like fabric dragging across wood, or fingers brushing through insulation. It starts behind the bed, then slides, slowly, along the wall toward the window. I sit up. The sheets pull cold against my legs. For a moment, I tell myself it's a mouse, or maybe pipes. Old houses make sounds when they breathe, but this feels too deliberate. It pauses when I move, continues when I don't. The air thickens with it, a kind of quiet pressure that makes it hard to swallow. I press my hand against the wall. The plaster feels cool, smooth, and then a shiver, a faint vibration, like something shifting on the other side of the surface. The rustling stops. I wait. Eyes fixed on the darkness, ears straining. Nothing. The silence stretches long enough for me to start breathing again. Then, a whisper, so soft I almost think I imagined it. It slides through the wall, thin as a breath. 2 words. Almost tender. I see you. My stomach drops. The air leaves my chest all at once. I pull my hand back, staring at the pale imprint my palm left on the wall. For a moment, I can't move. The words replay in my head, each repetition colder than the last. I glance at the window. The glass is fogged, a faint smear of condensation catching the dim street light. But the reflection staring back isn't quite mine. It's there for only a heartbeat, a shape darker than the room, standing just behind my shoulder. I turn fast. Nothing. Just shadows and the quiet thrum of my pulse. I tell myself to breathe. To think, maybe I'm tired. Maybe the whisper was the house. Air moving through old cracks, but the rustling begins again, this time from the opposite wall. Behind the bookshelf, it moves faster now, sliding upward like something crawling between the studs. I can almost trace its path. Every inch it climbs, the sound grows lighter, more frantic. Then, silence again. Complete. Until the wall pulses. Not a sound. Not a trick of light. The plaster shifts. A subtle outward swell, as if something inside is pushing to get out. My throat tightens. The hum from the radiator fades beneath the beating in my ears. I take one step back, then another. The wall moves again. Just once. Enough for the old paint to flake down like dust. Then, a faint exhale. Right where my ear had been, warm. Too close. It carries words with it. So quiet I feel them more than hear them. I see you, each syllable drawn out, dragging against the air like dry lips over stone. My breath stutters. My eyes blur. The whisper feels alive, present, like it's standing inches away, hidden just beneath the surface of the wall. I want to run, but my feet don't listen. Instead, I find myself stepping closer again, closer to that thin layer of plaster separating me from it. The faintest vibration trembles through the floor, almost like laughter. Muffled. Wet. I whisper back before I can stop myself. Why? No answer. Only the sound of something shifting deep inside the wall, like fabric, like skin. Then silence again. Utter. Heavy. I wait. The air grows colder by the second. The hum of the house returns. Normal. Steady. For a moment, it feels over. But when I finally step back toward the bed, the wall behind me rustles one last time. Slow. Deliberate. A single movement. Like a hand brushing down the inside of the plaster. I don't turn. I can't. Because as I reach for the light, I hear it. That same voice, so close now, it feels like it's inside my head. I see you. The hum stops. The air holds its breath, and the wall behind me is perfectly still. The woods at night have their own kind of silence. Not empty, just waiting. The air holds a faint chill, the kind that lingers at the end of autumn when the leaves are thin and the ground smells of damp earth. I follow the narrow trail. It winds between the trees, their trunks pale beneath the faint light of the moon. Somewhere ahead, something moves. A flicker. Soft. White. At first, I think it's a lantern. Maybe someone else walking home late. But it doesn't sway like light should. It drifts, hovering between the trees, pale, steady. I stop walking. The forest holds its breath with me. The light seems closer now, low to the ground, shifting just out of reach. It glows against the fog, round and faintly blue, as if the air itself has begun to shine. Curiosity pulls me forward. Each step sinks into the soft earth. Every branch that breaks beneath my shoe feels too loud. The light moves again, not away, but deeper, leading. The trees close in, their bark slick with mist. I can taste the dampness in the air, like metal, like rain before it falls. Something about the light feels alive. It hums faintly, a low vibration that settles behind my ribs. I should turn back, but I don't. It's beautiful in a way that makes me uneasy. The pale glow touches the edges of the leaves, turning them silver. The air feels charged. Like the moment before lightning strikes, it stops moving. Suspended between two old birches. Still. Waiting. I step closer. The ground softens beneath me, and the mist curls low around my knees. For a second, I think I see something inside the light. A shape, faint and shifting. Not quite human, but almost. My breath fogs in the air. It doesn't drift away. It hangs there, frozen. I whisper without meaning to. Hello? The word feels wrong the moment it leaves my mouth. The light pulses once, then twice, and then it vanishes. The forest drops into darkness so complete it feels solid. I stand there listening. Heart loud in my chest. There's nothing. No wind, no hum, only the faint creak of branches above. I turn in a slow circle, trying to remember which way I came from. The fog has thickened, erasing the path. My own breath sounds distant. Then I notice it, where the light had been. Something remains on the ground. Half buried in the damp leaves, I kneel. It's small, smooth, cold, a stone maybe, or glass. But it glows faintly from within. A soft white pulse, barely visible through the dirt clinging to its surface. It feels warm against my palm, but the air around me grows colder. I hold it up. It flickers once, then steadies. For a moment, I think I see my reflection in it. But the eyes staring back aren't mine. I drop it. It hits the ground without a sound. The light fades with it, leaving only the colorless dark. I step back, heart pounding, watching the last of the glow sink into the soil like water. Silence returns, heavy and slow. I turn toward where I think the path should be. Start walking. Every tree looks the same now. Every shadow feels like it's leaning closer. The mist clings to my clothes, to my hair, to my thoughts. And somewhere behind me, something moves. A soft hum, low and distant, growing, following. I don't look back. I keep walking until the forest opens up again, until the lights of home flicker through the trees. The air feels lighter there, warmer. But when I reach my door, I realize my hand is still glowing faintly, a thin white shimmer beneath the skin. Like the light didn't disappear at all, it just moved. Inside, it was past midnight, the kind of quiet where every breath feels too loud. My room was still, the air heavy with the faint scent of dust and rain. I'd been half asleep, eyes adjusting to the dim blue glow from the street outside, when I noticed it. A door. In the wall opposite my bed. It shouldn't have been there. The wallpaper didn't line up. A pale strip cut straight through the pattern. Too clean, too new. I sat up slowly, blanket slipping from my legs. The lower floor is swallowed in darkness, but the feeling lingers, like something unseen is still standing there, watching, just out of sight. I listen again. No footsteps, no breath. Only that faint hum of electricity in the ceiling light. But then, another sound, not from below this time. From behind me, a soft creak, wood bending, as if someone has just stepped onto the landing. I turn slowly. The hallway is empty. The air moves again. A faint brush across my shoulder, cold, steady. Every instinct tells me to leave, to run. But the silence holds me. It's heavy, suffocating. I take a step back toward the stairs just to look again. The shadow returns, not moving this time. Not walking, just standing at the bottom step, still and patient, arms hanging too low, head tilted at the same impossible angle. The light above me buzzes softly, and for a heartbeat, the shadow flickers. Stretching up the wall, reaching, I blink, and it's gone again. The silence after is unbearable. It hums through my teeth into my bones. I whisper, without meaning to. Who's there? The question dies halfway down the stairs, and somewhere deep in the dark, the floor creaks once more. A single, slow step. Then nothing. The silence swells again. Complete. Absolute. I back away from the railing, one careful step at a time. The light above me steadies and the hum fades. By the time I reach my door, the air feels warmer, normal, but the moment I close it behind me, I hear it, a soft echo from the stairwell below. Footsteps, not climbing this time, descending, slowly, until they fade into nothing. And yet, as I lie in bed listening to the quiet return, I can still feel that gaze from the dark, waiting. Just beyond the first step, it's past midnight, the kind of hour where even the clocks sound tired. The room is still, wrapped in pale shadows from the streetlight outside. I can hear the hum of the radiator, the faint buzz of electricity in the walls. It's a sound I've always known, comforting, predictable, until tonight. Something else moves beneath it, a faint rustling, soft, uneven, like fabric dragging across wood, or fingers brushing through insulation. It starts behind the bed, then slides, slowly, along the wall toward the window. I sit up. The sheets pull cold against my legs. For a moment, I tell myself it's a mouse, or maybe pipes. Old houses make sounds when they breathe, but this feels too deliberate. It pauses when I move, continues when I don't. The air thickens with it, a kind of quiet pressure that makes it hard to swallow. I press my hand against the wall. The plaster feels cool, smooth, and then a shiver, a faint vibration, like something shifting on the other side of the surface. The rustling stops. I wait. Eyes fixed on the darkness, ears straining. Nothing. The silence stretches long enough for me to start breathing again. Then, a whisper, so soft I almost think I imagined it. It slides through the wall, thin as a breath. 2 words. Almost tender. I see you. My stomach drops. The air leaves my chest all at once. I pull my hand back, staring at the pale imprint my palm left on the wall. For a moment, I can't move. The words replay in my head, each repetition colder than the last. I glance at the window. The glass is fogged, a faint smear of condensation catching the dim street light. But the reflection staring back isn't quite mine. It's there for only a heartbeat, a shape darker than the room, standing just behind my shoulder. I turn fast. Nothing. Just shadows and the quiet thrum of my pulse. I tell myself to breathe. To think, maybe I'm tired. Maybe the whisper was the house. Air moving through old cracks, but the rustling begins again, this time from the opposite wall. Behind the bookshelf, it moves faster now, sliding upward like something crawling between the studs. I can almost trace its path. Every inch it climbs, the sound grows lighter, more frantic. Then, silence again. Complete. Until the wall pulses. Not a sound. Not a trick of light. The plaster shifts. A subtle outward swell, as if something inside is pushing to get out. My throat tightens. The hum from the radiator fades beneath the beating in my ears. I take one step back, then another. The wall moves again. Just once. Enough for the old paint to flake down like dust. Then, a faint exhale. Right where my ear had been, warm. Too close. It carries words with it. So quiet I feel them more than hear them. I see you, each syllable drawn out, dragging against the air like dry lips over stone. My breath stutters. My eyes blur. The whisper feels alive, present. Like it's standing inches away, hidden just beneath the surface of the wall. I want to run, but my feet don't listen. Instead, I find myself stepping closer again, closer to that thin layer of plaster separating me from it. The faintest vibration trembles through the floor, almost like laughter. Muffled. Wet. I whisper back before I can stop myself. Why? No answer. Only the sound of something shifting deep inside the wall, like fabric, like skin. Then silence again. Utter. Heavy. I wait. The air grows colder by the second. The hum of the house returns. Normal. Steady. For a moment, it feels over. But when I finally step back toward the bed, the wall behind me rustles one last time. Slow. Deliberate. A single movement. Like a hand brushing down the inside of the plaster. I don't turn. I can't. Because as I reach for the light, I hear it. That same voice, so close now, it feels like it's inside my head. I see you. The hum stops. The air holds its breath, and the wall behind me is perfectly still. The woods at night have their own kind of silence. Not empty, just waiting. The air holds a faint chill, the kind that lingers at the end of autumn when the leaves are thin and the ground smells of damp earth. I follow the narrow trail. It winds between the trees, their trunks pale beneath the faint light of the moon. Somewhere ahead, something moves. A flicker. Soft. White. At first, I think it's a lantern. Maybe someone else walking home late. But it doesn't sway like light should. It drifts, hovering between the trees, pale, steady. I stop walking. The forest holds its breath with me. The light seems closer now, low to the ground, shifting just out of reach. It glows against the fog, round and faintly blue, as if the air itself has begun to shine. Curiosity pulls me forward. Each step sinks into the soft earth. Every branch that breaks beneath my shoe feels too loud. The light moves again, not away, but deeper, leading. The trees close in, their bark slick with mist. I can taste the dampness in the air, like metal, like rain before it falls. Something about the light feels alive. It hums faintly, a low vibration that settles behind my ribs. I should turn back, but I don't. It's beautiful in a way that makes me uneasy. The pale glow touches the edges of the leaves, turning them silver. The air feels charged. Like the moment before lightning strikes, it stops moving. Suspended between two old birches. Still. Waiting. I step closer. The ground softens beneath me, and the mist curls low around my knees. For a second, I think I see something inside the light. A shape, faint and shifting. Not quite human, but almost. My breath fogs in the air. It doesn't drift away. It hangs there, frozen. I whisper without meaning to. Hello? The word feels wrong the moment it leaves my mouth. The light pulses once, then twice, and then it vanishes. The forest drops into darkness so complete it feels solid. I stand there listening. Heart loud in my chest. There's nothing. No wind, no hum, only the faint creak of branches above. I turn in a slow circle, trying to remember which way I came from. The fog has thickened, erasing the path. My own breath sounds distant. Then I notice it, where the light had been. Something remains on the ground. Half buried in the damp leaves, I kneel. It's small, smooth, cold, a stone maybe, or glass. But it glows faintly from within. A soft white pulse, barely visible through the dirt clinging to its surface. It feels warm against my palm, but the air around me grows colder. I hold it up. It flickers once, then steadies. For a moment, I think I see my reflection in it. But the eyes staring back aren't mine. I drop it. It hits the ground without a sound. The light fades with it, leaving only the colorless dark. I step back, heart pounding, watching the last of the glow sink into the soil like water. Silence returns, heavy and slow. I turn toward where I think the path should be. Start walking. Every tree looks the same now. Every shadow feels like it's leaning closer. The mist clings to my clothes, to my hair, to my thoughts. And somewhere behind me, something moves. A soft hum, low and distant, growing, following. I don't look back. I keep walking until the forest opens up again, until the lights of home flicker through the trees. The air feels lighter there, warmer. But when I reach my door, I realize my hand is still glowing faintly, a thin white shimmer beneath the skin. Like the light didn't disappear at all, it just moved. Inside, it was past midnight, the kind of quiet where every breath feels too loud. My room was still, the air heavy with the faint scent of dust and rain. I'd been half asleep, eyes adjusting to the dim blue glow from the street outside, when I noticed it. A door. In the wall opposite my bed. It shouldn't have been there. The wallpaper didn't line up. A pale strip cut straight through the pattern. Too clean, too new. I sat up slowly, blanket slipping from my legs. When I turned around, the passage was gone, just blank wall. Old paint. A single light buzzing above it like nothing had ever been there. But sometimes, when the building goes quiet and the air feels too still, I swear I can hear that soft hum again, and the faint, patient creak of a door waiting to open. The house is quiet tonight. Too quiet. Only the hum. It rises through the floorboards, low and steady. A vibration more than a sound. It comes from the basement. I've heard it before. Sometimes faint, sometimes so deep it feels like it's breathing through the walls. I never liked going down there. The air below always feels heavier, colder. Like the ground remembers things it shouldn't, but tonight, the hum is louder. It pulls at me, a quiet pulse in the dark. I stand at the top of the stairs, hand on the rail. The wood feels damp, as if someone's been gripping it for hours. The single light above flickers once. Then again, the steps groan under my weight, each one slower than the last. I can feel the air shift as I descend, warm above, cold below. Halfway down, I pause. The hum isn't steady anymore. It wavers like a voice caught between breaths. I whisper, "Is someone there?" Nothing answers. Only that deep vibration threading through the silence. My foot meets the concrete floor. Dust stirs around my shoes. The smell hits next. Metal, old oil, and something faintly sweet. The shadows move differently down here. They stretch from the furnace to the far wall, folding into corners that seem too deep. I step closer. The furnace hums louder now, as if aware of me. Its panels tremble softly. A faint warmth bleeding through the rusted sides. For a moment, I think it's just the machine. Just the old pipes groaning with heat. Then I see it. A shape standing beside the furnace, still. Unclear. Not a shadow, not exactly. But darker than the dark around it, my breath catches. The hum thickens, vibrating in my chest. I can feel it in my teeth. The shape doesn't move. It just stands there watching, or maybe it isn't. Maybe it's only a trick of the light. My eyes trying to make sense of the dark. I take another step forward. My fingers brush the furnace. The metal pulses faintly beneath my touch, alive, almost warm enough to burn. The hum stops. Silence floods the room so fast it feels violent. I freeze. The air presses close, cold and unmoving. The furnace stands quiet, but the figure is gone. The space it filled still feels wrong, like the air there hasn't recovered. I wait. 1 second, 2, then I hear it again. Behind me, a faint breath, slow, uneven, my body locks in place. I don't turn. Can't! The breath draws closer, chilling the back of my neck. Something brushes my hair. A whisper, too soft to understand. Then, the hum returns. Not from the furnace this time. From the walls. From the floor. From the space around me. It builds and builds until the air feels thick with it. I can't tell if it's in my ears or inside my head. I stumble back toward the stairs, reaching for the railing. The metal feels slick, as if something had been holding it. The hum deepens. I climb the first step, then the second. My heart races with the rhythm of that endless vibration. Halfway up, I risk a glance over my shoulder. The basement glows faintly now. A dim orange haze from the furnace, casting long, trembling shadows. And there, just beneath the stairs, the shape stands again, closer this time. I can't see its face. Just the outline shifting slightly with the light. The hum grows sharper, piercing. I take the last few steps in a rush. When I reach the top, I slam the door shut behind me. The hum stops. The silence above feels thin, fragile. I press my ear to the door. Nothing. But as I turn to leave, a faint vibration ripples under my feet. Soft. Steady. It's in the floor again. Moving upward, I walk away slowly, trying not to listen. But the hum follows, through the wood, through the walls, through the night, and somewhere below, behind that old door, something hums back. The fog was thick tonight, heavy enough to taste. It wrapped around the streetlights, turning their glow into soft, drowning halos. The pavement glistened under them, still wet from the rain. Each step I took left a dark print, a slow rhythm that echoed faintly through the mist. I was alone. At least I thought I was. The night felt stretched thin, like sound had nowhere to go but back toward me. My footsteps. They came back louder than they should have. I slowed down, listened. For a moment, nothing. Just the hum of distant traffic, muted by the fog. Then, footsteps, soft, measured, behind me. They matched mine perfectly, step for step, beat for beat. I stopped. So did they. The silence that followed was too still. Even the fog seemed to hold its breath. I turned slowly. The street was empty, just the faint glow of lamps fading into white. No movement, no figure. I started walking again, a little faster this time. The air was colder now, damp against my skin, clinging to my clothes. The footsteps returned, following. Only this time, they didn't match. They fell out of sync, off by half a beat. Mine, then theirs. Mine, then theirs. Like something walking just a step behind me. deliberately trying not to be noticed. I could hear them shift in rhythm, closer, then slower, then close again. I stopped once more. Silence, but in that silence a faint shuffle, a heel dragging. I turned sharply. Still nothing. Only fog rolling slow and thick down the street. I whispered into it, "Who's there?" My voice came back softer, broken by the mist. No answer. Just the quiet hiss of the fog against the lamps. I began to walk again, heart steady but uneasy. The street curved ahead, lined with closed shops and sleeping windows. Everything looked half real, as if the world had been erased beyond a few feet. The footsteps came again. Faster now. Too many. They split. One set behind me, one to my left. I froze. The fog swirled at the edges of the light, shifting shapes that dissolved when I tried to focus. The air felt heavy in my lungs. Each breath sharp and cold. Something moved ahead. A faint silhouette crossing the street. Tall, thin, gone in an instant. I waited for the next sound. It came from behind, a single step, then another. Soft, slow, like bare feet on wet ground. I backed toward the curb, keeping my eyes on the mist. I couldn't see further than a few feet, but I felt watched. The kind of watching that lives just out of sight. A shape flickered near the lamppost. There, then gone. Another step. Closer. I whispered, "Please, stop." The fog pulsed, as if it breathed in answer. Then the footsteps stopped. The silence felt alive, buzzing faintly inside my ears. For a long time, nothing moved. Then, a single breath. Not mine, just above a whisper. It came from the fog ahead, and I knew then that I wasn't supposed to be here. I turned to go back the way I came, but the street behind me looked wrong. The lamps were dimmer, the air thicker. Still, I walked. One step, then another, until I realized the footsteps had changed again. They were ahead of me now, moving where I meant to go. Every time I stopped, they stopped. Every time I hesitated, they waited, guiding me, leading me. The fog began to thin near the end of the street. A pale glow seeped through, like moonlight touching water. The footsteps stopped there, just beyond the light. I strained to see, but there was only movement. Soft, slow, like someone swaying in the mist. Then it leaned forward. Too tall, too thin, arms hanging long at its sides. I blinked, and it was gone. The fog closed around where it stood, folding into itself until the street was empty again. I stood there for what felt like hours, listening for another step, another breath. But the world stayed still. I turned home, moving fast now, not daring to look back. When I reached my door, the fog began to fade behind me, melting into the night. The street fell silent again, except when I stepped inside and closed the door, I heard it, one last footstep, right outside. And it didn't walk away. It was late. The kind of late that hums in the air. My room was quiet, lit only by the faint orange glow of the streetlight through the curtains. I sat at my desk, staring at the mirror above it. It wasn't anything special, just an old rectangle of glass, edges chipped, frame peeling paint. But that night, it felt heavier, like it was watching back. I don't know why I looked up. Maybe I felt it. The weight of my own reflection waiting for me. My face stared back, tired, still. I blinked once. So did it, normal. But then I leaned closer and the reflection didn't. It lagged, just slightly. A heartbeat late. My breath caught in my throat. I leaned back. It followed, slow, deliberate. I lifted my hand. It lifted too, but a fraction too late, like it was remembering what to do. The air grew colder. I could feel it seeping across my skin, settling against the back of my neck. I whispered, "Stop." The reflection didn't. It kept its hand raised. Then lowered it. On its own, I stared. The glass looked darker now, edges shadowed, like the room behind me had stretched deeper into the mirror. My heart was steady, but wrong. Each beat felt like it echoed from somewhere else. I took a slow breath, fogging the surface. The reflection smiled. I didn't. It was a small smile, too wide at the corners. A kind of smile that didn't belong to me. The cold deepened. I could hear faint static, a hum under everything. I reached out, fingers trembling, until they touched the glass. It was colder than ice. The reflection didn't reach back. It just watched, smiling. The longer I looked, the more wrong it seemed. The eyes weren't mine anymore. They were too still, too bright. Behind me, the room was quiet. But in the mirror, the shadows shifted. I could see them move behind my reflection, soft, like smoke in water. I turned. Nothing there. When I looked back, the reflection had moved closer. Closer than I was. It filled the glass now, just a face. Mine, but not. Its mouth was still curled in that soft, perfect grin. I could see the faint shimmer of breath on its side of the mirror. Not mine. The hum grew louder, low and steady, like something alive beneath the floorboards. I whispered again, "Stop smiling." It didn't. The grin only widened. And then its lips moved. No sound came out, but I saw the shape of the words. "You're late." I stumbled back, chair scraping the floor. The reflection stayed still this time, watching me retreat. Its face calm, almost tender. The shadows behind it pulsed faintly. Like they were breathing too. I reached for the lamp. The bulb flickered once, twice, then went out. Darkness. The only light left came from the window, a pale line cutting across the mirror. I could still see the shape in it. But now there were two, one where my reflection should be, and one standing just behind it. I couldn't move. My throat felt tight, like the air had thickened. The figure in the mirror leaned forward, and I heard something faint. A soft exhale, as if it pressed its forehead against the other side of the glass. Then it whispered, almost too quietly to hear, but I felt it more than heard it, a breath against my skin. "Let me out." The room went silent again. I turned away. I didn't look back, not even when I heard the faint, slow tap, nails on glass, a rhythm, 1, 2, 3. Then nothing. When I finally dared to glance back, the mirror was empty. My reflection was gone, only my room, and the faint shimmer of fog curling inside the glass. Now, sometimes at night, I catch it again, a flash of movement when I pass by, and when I stop, the reflection stands still. But sometimes, just before I turn away, I see it, that faint, patient smile. Waiting, it was just past midnight. The streets were empty, washed pale under the glow of yellow lamps. The air was damp, thick with mist that clung to my coat and hair. Each breath came out soft, white, and disappeared into the quiet. That's when I heard it, a whisper. So faint I thought it was the wind at first. Then again, closer this time, it came from the alley beside the old bakery. The one too narrow for cars, where the walls leaned in like they wanted to touch. I stopped at the entrance. The fog pooled there, slow and alive, curling against the bricks. For a moment, I could almost hear it breathe. Then, a voice, low, thin, almost kind, my name. It said my name. The whisper slid through the air, threading itself between the faint hum of distant traffic and the drip of rain from a broken gutter. I froze. My heart didn't race, it just waited. I took a step closer. The cobblestones were slick beneath my shoes. The alley stretched deeper than it should have, longer than I remembered. I could see almost nothing past the first turn. Just fog, soft and white, like breath on a cold mirror. Another whisper. My name again, drawn out this time, like someone savoring the sound. It didn't sound cruel. It sounded familiar, like someone I should know. I told myself it was nothing, an echo, a trick of the air. But then a shadow moved within the mist. It shifted slowly, almost human, but not quite. The shape tilted, like a head turning toward me. I whispered back before I could stop myself. "Who's there?" The mist stirred. Something brushed against the wall. A soft rustle, like cloth dragging over brick. The whisper came again, this time closer. My name spoken from just ahead of me, I stepped forward. The cold air pressed against my face. Every few steps, the whisper repeated, guiding me deeper. The light behind me faded until only the dim halo of fog surrounded me. The walls felt tighter. I could hear my own breathing, slow and uneven. Something moved to my right. A flicker, a hint of movement in the haze. I turned. There was a figure there, half-formed, its edges blurred. It stood still, facing me, like it had been waiting. I squinted, trying to make out a face, but the mist bent around it, warping its shape. I blinked, and it was gone. Just air again. Just fog, but the whisper stayed. Now it came from behind me. I turned sharply, but there was nothing. Only the narrow path back to the street, empty, silent, unmoving. For the first time, the whisper didn't call my name. It said something else, soft, broken words I couldn't understand. A language that felt wrong in my ears, like it wasn't meant for this place. The air grew heavy. The mist thickened, swirling around my ankles, crawling higher. I could taste it now. Damp stone and something metallic underneath. I wanted to leave. I turned toward the light at the mouth of the alley, but the way out looked different. Longer, further. Like the alley had stretched. Behind me, the whispers grew louder. Dozens of voices, layered and broken. They said my name again, not in unison, but in waves, one after another, as if each voice belonged to a different mouth, a different throat somewhere inside the fog, and then, through the wall of mist, I saw it again. The figure. It stood in the same place as before. Half hidden, motionless, I stepped forward. It didn't move. Didn't fade, just stood there watching. I took another step, and it dissolved. The fog folded in on itself, like water closing over a hand. The whispers stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Too heavy. I turned back toward the street. This time the way was short again. The lights were waiting. The air felt thinner. I walked out, never once looking back. But as I reached the end of the block, the fog behind me shifted just once, and faintly, so faintly, I heard it again. My name, close enough to feel it brush against my ear. Since that night, I don't walk that street anymore. But sometimes, on quiet evenings, when the air grows thick and still, I hear my name whispered from somewhere nearby. And for a moment, I can smell the damp stone. And the mist breathes again. It was early morning. The fog hadn't lifted yet. Everything was soft and colorless, like the world was still asleep. The grass was wet beneath my shoes, each step quiet, swallowed by the mist. I'd walked this path 100 times. The field behind my house, the one that stretched toward the hills, flat and endless. But that morning, something was different. At the far edge of the field, where the fog met the earth, something stood there, a shape, still, tall. I stopped walking. Blinking into the pale white distance, I tried to make sense of it. It wasn't a tree. There were no trees this far out. Just open grass and the quiet hum of power lines overhead. The shape didn't move, didn't shift with the wind, it just waited. The air felt thicker as I watched, like it was harder to breathe. Every inhale caught in my throat. I told myself it was nothing, a trick of the fog. But my feet kept moving forward. Each step made the shape waver, like heat rising off pavement. The closer I got, the less it looked like a person, and the more it felt like one. The silence pressed against my ears. No birds, no rustling in the grass, just the slow thump of my pulse and the steady hum somewhere in the distance. When I looked again, the shape had changed. It leaned slightly. As if tilting its head, I froze. The mist brushed against my face, cold and damp, carrying that faint smell of metal and earth. I whispered something. I don't even know what. Maybe my own name. The air seemed to tighten around the sound, holding it still. For a moment, I thought I saw its arm lift, but the fog broke apart and the shape blurred again. I took another step. Then another. The horizon stretched endlessly ahead, but somehow the silhouette never grew closer. No matter how far I walked, it stayed the same distance away, always just beyond reach. I stopped again, my breath shallow. The fog began to move. Slowly at first, curling around my legs, climbing higher, it pressed against my back like a hand guiding me forward. I didn't want to move anymore. But I couldn't turn away either. The shape was clearer now, almost human, but not quite. Its outline flickered, sharp one moment, melting the next. The fog pulsed, like it was breathing with me. And then I heard it. A low hum, too deep to be wind, too steady to be my imagination. It came from the direction of the silhouette. From the space it stood in, I felt it through the ground, through the air, through my chest. Every instinct told me to leave, but I stayed, because I had to know. I took one more step, and the world shifted. The fog thinned for just a second, just long enough for me to see it clearly. It wasn't standing at all. It was hanging, suspended, feet not touching the ground, arms stretched too long, fingers tapering into the air. I blinked, and it was gone. The hum stopped. The silence came back, thicker this time. The air around me felt heavier, pressing against my chest. Like the fog itself didn't want me there. I turned to go back, but the way behind me wasn't the same. The horizon had shifted. The fog closed in, folding the world into soft gray walls. There was no path, just white, and that faint electric hum returning. I ran my hand through the mist. It clung to my skin like breath, cold, wet, alive. Then, a flicker at the edge of my vision, the silhouette again. Closer now, too close. I could see the outline of its head, the hollow where its face should be. It tilted like it was studying me. I didn't move, didn't breathe. For a long time we just stood there, and then the shape began to fade, slowly dissolving into the fog until there was nothing left but air. The weight lifted. The hum stopped again. I was alone. The field returned, flat and endless. The fog thinned with the rising sun. I walked home in silence. Every few steps I looked back, but the edge of the field was empty, still. Sometimes when I stand by the window at dawn, I can see that same pale horizon, and if I stare long enough, I swear, there's something standing there again, waiting. The loft smelled of dust and old wood. Winter sunlight cut thin lines across the floorboards. The air was cold, still, heavy. I stepped inside. The door creaked behind me, and the sound stretched, lingering in the empty space. Shadows moved along the walls. Not all at once, but in flickers, soft, restless, alive. Each shift revealed something new. A hand reaching too long, a pair of eyes blinking where there should be none. Shapes that should not exist, yet there they were. I froze. The wooden floor felt colder under my feet. A faint rustle echoed from the corner like fabric brushing something unseen. The loft seemed bigger than it had moments before. The staircase leading down stretched longer, its steps dissolving into the shadows. I took a step back. The shadows paused, then flickered again. And now I saw them more clearly, faces forming, vanishing, whispering silence. The hum of the house seemed louder here. Or maybe it was the hum in my own chest, thumping with tension and fear. I reached for the railing. The wood was slick with cold sweat, though the air was dry. The shadows twisted with each movement, leaning closer, probing. A low breath brushed my neck. I spun. Nothing. Only the loft stretching, expanding, swallowing corners into gray. I wanted to leave. The staircase, my escape, seemed to recede, step by step, as if the loft itself was holding me in place. The light flickered. A shadow stretched across the wall, thin, sinuous, and impossibly long. It turned, and for a heartbeat I could swear it mimicked me. I whispered my own name. The loft answered with silence, then with movement. Shadows flicked along the floorboards, darting toward me, then away like a tide I could not follow. I breathed in sharply. The smell of old paper and iron filled the loft. It mixed with the faint scent of something wet, like earth after rain. Another flicker. Eyes appeared in the rafters, watching, unblinking, then gone. I tried to step toward the stairs. My foot landed, but the space beneath me felt wrong. The step elongated, stretching into darkness. I paused. My pulse thundered in my ears. The shadows waited. I took another step. Then another. The light flickered once more. A hand pressed against the wall. Not flesh, not solid, but somehow there. Reaching, waiting. I didn't move. Couldn't move. The loft held me with its silence, its hum, its shifting, impossible shadows. Time stretched. Seconds became minutes. The sun outside sank lower, casting pale slivers of light that barely touched the floor. A soft rustling followed me, around me. Through me, I whispered, "Go away." The shadows paused, then flickered faster, blinking like faulty light. I closed my eyes, breathed in the cold air, opened them. The loft was still, empty, silent. But the staircase, it was still longer than before. I felt it behind me, the weight of those flickering shapes, waiting just at the edge of vision. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I just stepped backward slowly, one careful foot at a time, until the doorway framed me again. The shadows stayed. They did not follow. The loft waited, patient, stretching, breathing, flickering in silence. I closed the door behind me. The latch clicked. Outside, the winter sunlight felt warm. The air smelled of smoke and frost. But in my chest, the loft remained, stretching in memory, shadows moving just beyond the edge of the mind. A chill pressed against my skin, thin and insistent. Winter shadows pooled in the corners of the room. The radiator hummed faintly, a low, steady thrum beneath the quiet. Then something slid across the floor. A letter, pale against the dark wood, slipped under the door. No name. No envelope markings. Just the weight of arrival. I knelt slowly. The paper was smooth, colder than the air around it. I held it up to the pale light seeping through the curtains. Inside, one word repeated, over and over, "Watch." I set the letter down. The shadows shifted, stretching along the walls, curling closer to me with subtle intent. I drew a breath. It smelled faintly of smoke, of damp ink, of old paper. My fingertips tingled, brushing the wood of the table. The room felt smaller. Every object seemed to lean toward the letter, as though the air itself was being pulled. I sat back, eyes scanning the corners. Shadows twisted where none should move. They flickered like reflections in a broken mirror. The radiator's hum seemed louder now. Or maybe my heartbeat had found its own rhythm, echoing between floorboards and ceiling beams. I reached again for the letter. Its edges felt sharp under my fingers. The word "watch" stared back at me, simple, insistent, like a pulse. I could feel the room breathing around me. The walls leaned in, subtle, almost imperceptible. A soft draft curled through the doorway, though the hall beyond was still. I whispered, almost without thinking, "Who is there?" No answer. Only the shadows quivering, lengthening, wrapping the corners with patience. The paper rustled. Just once, a whisper of movement that set my teeth on edge. I looked up. The pale light of winter hung low outside the window. Inside, darkness pooled and the shadows. Watched, I wanted to move, but the floor felt sticky, clinging to my shoes, to my hands, as though reluctant to let me leave. The letter's paper crinkled beneath my fingers. The word "watch" repeated again, but now I thought I could feel it moving, shifting in the folds, like the ink had a life of its own. A breath brushed my neck. Cold, fast, too close. I turned sharply. Nothing. Just the room. Just the letter. Just the shadows. I backed away. The edges of the room seemed darker, heavier, and every movement of the shadows was synchronized to the faint thrum of my pulse. I sat on the floor, knees drawn close. The letter lay open beside me. Its single word repeated endlessly, mocking and patient. The hum of the radiator seemed to fold into the silence. And in that silence, I realized the shadows were not just shapes. They were watching. Long after I had stopped breathing, the letter remained, its command simple, its presence cold, and the room still breathed around it. I touched the paper once more. Its surface was icy, and the word watch stared back at me as if I had never looked away. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just listened. The wind whispered outside. The shadows shifted slightly. The letter lay untouched, patient, waiting, and I watched. The house was still. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Outside, a thin fog pressed against the windows. I sat on the sofa, the fabric rough beneath my palms. The radiator hummed softly, almost too quietly. Everything felt too quiet. Then, footsteps, above, slow, deliberate, measured against the creak of the ceiling boards. I froze. My skin prickled with the chill of the night. I had the house to myself, or at least I thought I did. Each step pressed closer. Heavy now, almost dragging. The vibration through the floor reached up to my toes, my knees, my chest. I could smell the faint tang of dust from the attic. The air felt thicker, humid and cold at once. The shadows along the walls leaned inward, watching. I tried to convince myself it was the house settling. Old wood, old beams. But the rhythm, it did not belong to the house. I shifted slightly. The sofa groaned beneath me. A pause. Then the footsteps resumed, closer. I held my breath, could feel the hum of blood in my ears. The staircase creaked lightly, maybe a trick of memory. Maybe the footsteps had paused above the old bedrooms. The floor beneath me seemed softer, warmer, yet colder at the edges. The air carried the faint scent of smoke, or was it my own fear curling in the corners? I wanted to stand. I wanted to call out, but the words died in my throat. Another step. A floorboard bowed slightly, quivering beneath it. The sound lingered longer than it should have. I pressed my palms to my thighs. The fabric rough, grounding me. My own heartbeat thudded, loud against the quiet. Then a pause. The shadows stretched higher along the walls. The hum of the radiator softened. The room seemed to tilt, the fog outside turning the glass pale and opaque. I imagined the steps moving, slower now, waiting, calculating. A soft draft brushed my neck. I turned sharply. Nothing, just the room, the sofa. The letter I had left unopened on the table from before. Another step, closer. Each one vibrating through the ceiling, through the floor, through me. I couldn't tell if I was alone anymore. The air pressed against my skin. The shadows leaned toward the staircase. The silence grew heavy between the creaks. I tried to move. My legs stiffened. The carpet seemed to cling to my shoes, my toes, my ankles. The footsteps paused. The air held its breath. The house waited with me, and then nothing. No step, no creak, just the faint hum of the radiator. Just the shadows in the corners, still and patient. I exhaled slowly, though my lungs felt tight. The fog pressed against the windows, pale and insistent. And the silence watched. I did not move. I did not speak. I only listened. And somewhere above I could still feel them. The steps. Slow. Deliberate. Waiting. The night pressed against the window pane. Fog rolled in thick, a pale tide that blurred the garden. The air smelled damp, earthy, heavy with cold. I sat on the edge of my bed, fingertips brushing the sheets. The fabric was rough, grounding me to the quiet of the room. Outside, the mist shifted slowly, curling around the fence posts and trees. Then I saw it, a figure, motionless. It didn't breathe, or at least I couldn't tell. Its silhouette stayed still against the pale gray of the fog. I leaned closer, skin prickling, the draft from the slightly open window brushing my cheek. I tried to blink it away. But when my eyes opened, it remained. The night air smelled sharper now, metallic in some invisible way. The shadows in the room deepened, reaching toward the corners like long fingers. I could feel my own breath, shallow, rapid, hanging in the air. The floor beneath my feet hummed faintly, the old boards settling, or maybe not. The figure shifted, just slightly, or maybe it was the fog moving around it. A cold pulse ran through the room. I pressed my palm against the window, feeling the chill seep into my skin. The glass trembled softly under my touch, or perhaps my hand imagined it. I wanted to call out. The sound stuck in my throat. Silence filled the space between the figure and me, thick, waiting. Its form was impossible to place. Tall or crouched, The fog seemed to bend around it, distorting, hiding, revealing. A soft rustling echoed from the garden, like leaves brushing over something unseen. I drew back, shivering. The sheets felt heavier now, almost sticky against my skin. The hum of the radiator softened, barely audible. The figure remained, patient, silent. I imagined moving, stepping closer to the window. The floorboards groaned faintly, betraying me. The fog thickened, curling into the glass, pressing against it like a living thing. The figure's shadow stretched wider, impossibly long, merging with the mist. A breath. I couldn't tell if it was mine or from outside. The air smelled damp and faintly of smoke. Or was it fear settling in the room? My heart thudded uneven, loud in the quiet. The figure tilted its head, subtly, a motion so small it could be imagined. I froze, hand hovering above the sill. The room seemed to bend in on itself, the shadows reaching higher, darker. The hum of the radiator softened further, almost swallowed by the cold. I wanted to look away, but curiosity anchored me. The figure did not move, did not blink, did not speak. I could feel it in the silence, in the fog pressing against the glass, watching, waiting. The room grew colder. Shadows lengthened across the walls, then a pause. The fog shifted once more, and I realized with a weight that pressed into my chest, I was not alone. Outside, the figure remained, a dark silhouette in a world of pale light. The mist curling around it, impossible to reach, impossible to touch. I did not move. I did not breathe loudly. I only watched, and the window watched back. Time thinned. The room hummed softly, the radiator's breath mingling with mine. The figure waited, silent. The fog clung to the world outside, and the shadows clung to me. I could feel it always. Through the glass, patient, still, watching. The hallway stretched long, pale light spilling from the cracked doorway. I stepped forward slowly, each footfall softened by the carpet. The air smelled faintly of dust and cold wood. A draft whispered past, curling along my skin. Then pressure, cold, firm, brushing my hand as I passed the doorframe. I froze. Nothing moved. Yet the chill lingered, a weight pressing against my arm. I drew back, fingertips trembling, brushing against the smooth paint. The room behind me remained silent, empty. Shadows pooled along the walls, stretching, shifting, alive in the dim light. The air smelled sharper now, metallic, like ice melting. My breath left small clouds curling in the quiet. I pressed my palm to the doorframe again, feeling the cold resist, as if holding me back. I wanted to step away. My feet felt heavier, reluctant. The walls seemed closer, narrowing around me, breathing with the draft. Another brush, light, deliberate, against my shoulder. I turned sharply. Nothing. Only the hum of the radiator, soft and distant. The cold lingered, seeping into the wood, the paint, my skin. I could feel it in my bones, a trace of something that wasn't mine. The floor beneath my feet creaked, though no one else was there. I leaned closer to the frame, hand hovering. The chill pulsed, subtle, rhythmic, like a heartbeat not my own. The carpet fibers whispered against my shoes. Shadows shifted at the corner of my vision. A flicker, maybe imagined, of movement behind the glass of the hallway mirror. I didn't look directly. I couldn't. The draft curled around me, slipping under my collar, brushing along my neck. It smelled faintly of winter, of snow pressed against cold stone. And still, the doorframe held its grip. I drew my hand back, trembling. The cold remained. A weight pressing, patient, unmoving. It seemed to watch me, lingering where no eyes could be. I stepped forward, then back, testing the space. Each movement met resistance. The pressure was there, thin, unyielding, almost sentient. The hallway felt narrower, tighter, the shadows darker, leaning toward me. The radiator hummed again, a low, even tone beneath the silence. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud, uneven, echoing softly off the walls. I reached for the light switch. Fingers brushed the cool metal. The hallway remained dim, shadows thickening. I swallowed. The air tasted of iron and cold dust. The doorframe seemed to hum softly under my touch, a vibration that was not mechanical. I took another step. The pressure eased slightly but did not fade. I moved forward slowly, cautiously. A final brush against my back, a whisper of chill, and it was gone, almost. The hallway remained empty, silent. The draft eased, the smell of cold fading into the warmth of the radiator. Yet the memory lingered. The hands that weren't there, the touch that refused to leave. I stood alone. Shadows pooled at my feet. The doorframe waited. Patient, silent, watching. The room smelled faintly of damp plaster and cold air. I stood near the doorway, feet rooted, heart uneven. Shadows clung to the corners, stretching, curling in the pale light of the lamp. Then I saw it. A shape crouched there. Still. Watching, I blinked, and it was closer. Closer than before, though I had not moved. The air grew thick. My chest tightened, a weight pressing downward. Breath shallow. Fog curling at my lips. The floor beneath me felt softer, warmer than it should. A subtle rustle, fabric against the unseen, echoed through the room. I could almost feel its presence, heavy, unmoving, patient. I wanted to step forward. I couldn't. Feet glued, arms trembling at my sides. The shape shifted, just slightly but enough to draw my gaze. It seemed to lean, stretching into the corner's shadow, yet remaining impossible to place fully. The walls whispered with static, the hum of the lamp buzzing low. I heard my own pulse in the quiet, loud and steady, but not enough to fill the emptiness. A cold draft brushed the back of my neck. I swallowed. The shape remained crouched. Closer now, breathing. Or maybe it was only my imagination. The floorboards creaked softly beneath my weight. The shape responded not by moving, but by tightening the darkness around itself. The shadow pooled, thickening at the corner, drawing the light toward it. I tried to blink, to shake my eyes free. The shape mirrored me, crouched tighter, more solid, its edges sharp against the dim walls. I could smell the faint scent of something old, earthy, pressed into corners. My chest felt heavier, lungs reluctant. The air thickened, humid, as if the shadow exhaled around me. Every nerve tingled, a whisper of cold crawling up my spine. I wanted to speak. No sound came. Only the hum, the rustle, the slow pulse of dread. It edged closer. I had not moved. Yet it was nearer, crouched along the corner's angle, following me with invisible intent. The lamp flickered. Light wavered, and the shape seemed to stretch, fingers of darkness curling into the room. I stepped back, but the room's dimensions shifted subtly, narrower, tighter. My skin tingled. I could feel the shadow against my ankles, though nothing touched me. The air smelled faintly of damp earth and old wood, heavy, oppressive. I blinked again, closer still. Impossible to measure, impossible to define. The silence thickened. Even the lamp's hum seemed swallowed. My breath was loud, ragged, caught between fear and disbelief. I tried to move, to retreat. The shape pressed against the corner's edge, patient, waiting, unyielding. Time stretched. Then, a subtle shift, a pause, like it exhaled slowly, deliberately. The light settled again, pale, steady. And for a heartbeat I thought I could move, but it remained, closer than before, watching, waiting. I stepped backward, heart hammering, shadows pressed at the floor, at the walls, at the air itself. I left the room. Door clicked softly behind me. The corner stayed dark. The shape crouched, silent, patient. And I could still feel it, lingering just beyond the light. The first light of morning slipped through the curtains. Pale, fragile, like it didn't quite belong here yet. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Shadows had receded, thinning along the corners, curling back into themselves. I moved slowly, each step deliberate. The floorboards whispered underfoot, groaning like tired lungs. The air smelled faintly of frost and damp wood. Outside, the forest breathed. A soft fog lingered between the trees, curling around the trunks like smoke. Each branch held a weight, heavy and patient, waiting. I touched the windowsill. cold lingered there, a residue left behind by what had passed. A shiver ran along my spine. It was familiar, yet unwelcome. The kitchen hummed with the faint echo of the night. Even the cupboards seemed to hold their breath. I poured water into a glass. The liquid trembled, reflecting pale light. The silence pressed against me. It was not emptiness. It was presence, patient, unyielding. I walked through the hallway. Walls stretched longer than I remembered. Each corner seemed to hold its own memory, a whisper of the things that had watched. I paused in the living room. Dust motes floated in the light, like tiny ghosts drifting lazily in the morning air. The room smelled faintly of cold stone and old paper. I could feel the weight of absence pressing softly at my shoulders. I stepped outside. The forest awaited, fog curling at my feet. Each breath carried the scent of wet leaves, of earth turned in secret. I could feel the traces of night lingering on the air, a chill that refused to fade. The horizon stretched pale and empty, but not truly empty. Shadows shifted just beyond sight. The trees whispered softly, their voices rustling through fog. I realized then I was not alone. I walked along the path. Soft footsteps pressed into the soil, echoing in rhythm with my own. The air felt thick, heavy with the residue of what had passed. Yet there was no shape to confront, only the memory of presence. I paused at the edge of the clearing. A single bird called, sharp and sudden, breaking the fragile hush. The fog wavered, pale fingers curling against the light. And I understood. The night had not left. It had receded, yes, but it lingered, patient and quiet, in corners, in shadows, in breath itself. I let it be. Acceptance settled over me, slow and intimate. The house, the forest, the night. They were never empty, and neither was I. I took a step forward, then another. The cold trace of the night followed, unseen, silent. But I walked. The sun rose, fragile and pale, spilling light across damp leaves. The wind whispered through the trees, soft and measured. And I moved through it all, aware, alone, yet never alone. The night had left its mark. It was not gone. But it no longer held me. I exhaled slowly, the air crisp and clean against my lungs. I turned back once. The house stood silent. Shadows lingered in corners, fading, patient. I didn't look too long. I stepped into the forest. Mist curled around my feet. The hum of life pressed softly against the edges of perception. And I kept walking, knowing what had passed, feeling it, yet letting it be. The morning held me gently, and I was still at last.